Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello, is that Simon?
Yes, it is.
Oh, hello, it's Ronnie here.
Oh, Mr. President, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I just wanted to say how much I'm enjoying the show today, and...
Great.
But I'm a little bit upset because, well, you haven't read my letter out.
Well, I haven't got round to it, but I promise I'll do that soon, okay?
Well, it should take precedence over any others.
Oh,
You
dear,
get it?
that's terrible.
Oh, just a little joke. I wanted one of those nicer Now On To T-shirts.
Well, I'm afraid our budget doesn't stretch to a T-shirt.
Nor does mine nowadays. Perhaps I can just say hello to everyone who knows me.
I'm afraid we haven't time. I've got to say...
go now. I've got to have a chat with Mr. Gorber. Mr. Gorber, the Russian leader.
Thanks, Mr. President. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Chris Searle and Windmill.
Greetings, welcome to Windmill. For this week we've been plundering the BBC's mighty archive to find out what television can tell us about one small object. At this moment it's careering through space at 66,600 miles an hour. It's quite an unusual object, hot in parts, cold in others. Some of it's a bit wet, some's quite dry. And there are lots of tiny things crawling all over it. What I'm talking about, of course, is Planet Earth. The magic of television has created pictures of every imaginable bit of it, from the terrifying power of great volcanoes to the peace of an English country garden, from the treasures which lie just below the surface to the creatures which live there. We've discovered that Planet Earth has its funny side with the homemade ecology of the good life and the homegrown gardening of Morecambe and Wise. We'll have a glimpse of farming long ago, and here in the studios, I'll be meeting this week's star guest, Percy Thrower. But we start with a quite incredible sequence of pictures. Have you ever thought of how the Earth must look to anyone from outer space? For centuries, people could only imagine. And then, 25 years ago, for the first time, man was able to get far enough away from our planet to see it as we see the moon. Television went with him. We can show the shots taken by Apollo and Gemini missions in the 1960s. For the astronauts and the millions who watched them, this was a dream come true.
3.5 down, 220 feet, 13 forward, 11 forward, coming down nicely, 200 feet, 4.5 down, 5.5 down, 60 seconds.
We got the color now.
Okay, I'll try adjusting for you.
Yes, sir. It's looking great.
Only if the space effort can be seen to be paying for itself here and now will we reach these limits of our dreams. But it's with such a total view of our own planet, an understanding of the patterns that give rise to the uncertainties of our environment, that is beginning at least to pay its way. From space, in one look, it's possible to see a whole continent, the Straits of Gibraltar with Spain and Europe stretching far away to the left. It's possible to plot cloud and weather formations over mountain ranges, seas and deserts. In one panoramic view, to see the whole Middle East, Turkey in the distance, Israel, Jordan and Syria to the right. Egypt and the Sinai Peninsula below. It's even possible now in one glance to see the whole of India, nation of 400 million people. Yet these views are not just spectacular, they will be useful. In these photos from Apollo and Gemini, we have seen the beginning of the comprehensive mapping of the Earth's total resources. In this one photo of the Persian Gulf, there was enough information for a comprehensive geological map of the whole area to be produced.
Ours is not the only planet, but is there life as we know it in other parts of the universe? Well, the BBC archive has very few authenticated films of visitors from space, but now, in Windmill, we can rerun a historic event. It happened during the Not the 9 O'Clock News programme. During a sketch, a mysterious life force invaded the television system. The picture broke up, and this is what happened.
Greetings. I'm sorry for disturbing your program. All the crazy stuff will be back in a short while, but I must speak with you urgently. My name is Zack. I come from another planet. It is a very different planet to this one. We have no death, no gravity, and a different shaped gear stick on the mini metro. Also, we have a different language. The reason I'm able to speak to you is that this small podule simultaneously translates what keep it switched on. I have come on an important mission to try to talk to you about the fact that didn't want to know. I'm afraid my machine is the machine will work now. My apologies. The Earth battery I bought seems to be malfunctioning. There may not be much time. I came here secretly and against the express wishes of the Galactic Council to warn you. To warn you of 4 courses of action you must take to avoid the imminent destruction of your civilization. Mark them well. Secondly, die schreckliche Kartoffelkopf. Anthony Wedgwood should cart it off to the funny farm at once. Thirdly, the Barbican Center within 5 years. And fourthly, beware the one who calls himself Terry Wogan. He is a Zilon from the planet Tharg and cannot be trusted.
Rowan Atkinson in Not the 9 O'Clock News. Now, nobody can say quite for certain how the Earth came to be. All anyone can say is that its formation must have been pretty cataclysmic, because the Earth's crust is dangerously thin in places, and when the inside breaks out, we get a terrifying reminder of the forces just a few miles below us. Now, often it happens without warning, but David Attenborough was lucky enough to film next to a predicted eruption here in Iceland. The mountain of Krafla, which is just above the N on this map, quite literally blew its top.
I'm in Iceland. This fantastic fountain of fire rising 200 feet or so into the air behind me is molten rock. Fine ash is falling all around. There are gusts of choking poisonous gas, and it's so hot that this is just about as close as I can get to it. The sheer weight of these molten ingots of rock prevents them being swept away from the vent by the gale, so there's little danger of them suddenly coming our way. Less dramatic than the fire fountain, but perhaps more sinister, is this tide of black slag that is slowly creeping over the surface of the land. In parts, it's red hot and molten and flows like treacle. But on the edges, it's cooled enough for me to be able to handle it. It's black, it's heavy, and it's called basalt. And basalt like this has been welling up from deep in the Earth's crust ever since the beginning of the history of our planet. A flow may travel for as much as 25 miles. Sometimes it moves no faster than a man can walk, but sometimes it races along at an extraordinary speed, 40 miles an hour, and nothing can stop it. Mount St. Helens on the Pacific coast of North America. On May the 18th, 1980, with an explosion 500 times as powerful as the atomic blast at Hiroshima, it blew away 3/4 of a cubic mile of rock. The forests around the mountain were totally destroyed. Trees 200 feet tall lay scattered like matchsticks. Geologists, weeks beforehand, watching a huge bulge develop on the side of the mountain, had warned of the coming catastrophe. Even so, over 60 people stayed and were killed. On the northern side of the volcano, there were not even trees to be seen. A huge avalanche of rock, blown out by the blast, had slid for 15 miles down the side of the mountain, burying everything. Behind it, Mount St. Helens lay wrecked. Its summit was over 1,000 feet lower, and at the back of a huge amphitheater a mile wide from which the rock had come, another ominous bulge was developing, swathed in jets of steam.
David Attenborough with extraordinary pictures of Mount Krafla and Mount St. Helens. Well, our bit of the planet is quite comfortable compared with that, or indeed deserts, where the sun and the wind can destroy practically anything. There's a desert here in Namibia, in southwest Africa, where just a few tough plants can cling to life. It's called the Namib. The word means endless expanse, and in this World About Us film, you can see why. It's hard to imagine anything living in that endless sea of shifting sand, but there are just a few creatures which have adapted to that harsh world of searing heat. World About Us filmed reptiles which had discovered a neat way of cooling themselves when the temperature becomes too much for them.
when it becomes too hot, the only snake which survives in the sand dunes of the Namib is the sidewinding adder. Its peculiar sideways motion enables it to keep most of its body off the hot sand for most of the time.
Plants, too, somehow scrape a living in that harsh environment. Even in the most arid desert, it rains just occasionally. And after the rain, dried seeds burst into life. And the desert urgently puts on a dazzling display which makes the Chelsea Flower Show look dull. These stunning pictures are from the series The Living Planet, and they were filmed in Arizona, Australia, the Namib, and the Sahara. Whole Earth to an astronaut means the whole Earth. To amateur ecologists, it means whole Earth, whole food, wholemeal bread, rope sandals, no additives, and organically grown veg. To Windmill, it means the good life, with Richard Bryars and Felicity Kendall. In this episode, Barbara is helping Tom with an experiment to prove that if you talk nicely to plants, they'll grow, and if you're nasty to them, they won't. It's this week's Comedy Classic.
Now, when I take the cover off plant A, I want you to give it 20 seconds of love and encouragement. Are you ready?
No.
What's the matter now?
Well, talking to a bean. It's silly.
You didn't think so yesterday?
I wasn't face to face with a bean then, was I?
Look, for someone who claimed to have an instinctive understanding of what old Mr. Wakeling was talking about...
All right, I will. I will try. Just got stage fright, that's all. I'll try.
Fine.
Only don't look at me.
All right. Ready, and go. Forget it. I'm not doing it. I won't do it. Forget it.
I'm sorry. I'll try. I will. Ready?
Are you ready? Otherwise, I won't do it. And go.
Hello, my darling. Oh, I've been so looking forward to this moment alone with you because I want to tell you that I love you. Do you know that? I love you so much. And you and I are going to be so happy because I'm going to look after you and I'm going to tend you and you and I are going to have the most wonderful, wonderful relationship.
All right. Don't go raving mad.
Was that all right?
Yes, fine. Very good.
Well, why are you scowling?
Who are you thinking about?
You?
Yes, well...
You can't be jealous of a bean.
I'll make my notes. Plant A exposed for 20 seconds to oversex laboratory assistant.
All right, come on, Hate. It's your turn.
Yes.
Ready?
No, you see, I don't really feel hateful today. I'm not in a hateful mood. I'm in a sort of rather even sort of mood.
Oh, by the way, did I tell you that the Inland Revenue sent our tax returns back with a slip saying, don't be facetious?
The pompous swines. I'll smash their faces.
Ready?
Yes, I am.
Sanctuary.
What's up, Jerry?
Margot. She's got her junk turf colonels round from the Music Society.
Oh, well, never mind. Sit down. You can stay for lunch if you like.
Oh, thanks. Yes, I will. Certainly shan't get any from Margot. She's too busy making the final arrangements for putting the skids under Miss Mountshaft. Would you mind just keeping quiet for 20 seconds? Why 20 seconds? Well, we're doing something rather important. Oh, yes, of course. Sorry.
Ready?
Ready.
So, you call yourself a bean, do you? You could have certainly fooled me. I wouldn't bother growing if I were you. There's no point in you growing. And you know why? You know why? Because the moment you pop your head above that soil, the moment they see you above that soil, everyone's going to fall about laughing. But you wouldn't make me laugh, and I'll tell you why. Because I hate you. And you know why I hate you? Because you're horrible. You're horrible, 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 horrible. Yeah. All right?
Very good.
Yeah. Well, with rest and care, I don't see you need be in the institution for more than about 25 years.
And while we're on the subject of making things grow, we now bring back, by massive public demand, the flower pot men. Incidentally, I've always believed the sheer number of telly programs you have to watch in the BBC library to put one of these windmill programs together was eventually going to numb the brains of the people who do it. I was right. The producer of this week's program told me she genuinely believes she has inside information about Bill and Ben. Honestly. Bill, she says, is an idiot. Ben is sane. That's what she told me. But then again, it could be true. See what you think. Ben's the one on the left.
Blub, 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 blub. Oh, 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 oh.
And then they waited, quiet as two little mice. At first they heard nothing at all. Then they heard a tiny little noise, as though the seeds were saying, shall we come up, or shan't we? Then they heard a tiny rustling and bustling, and then up popped the flowers all together. And the flower pot men started dancing and singing.
Oh, lubba, 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 flower. Lubba, lubba, flower.
The flowers have come. Isn't it fun? Look what the beautiful seeds have done.
Oh, flower,
The flower pot men stopped for a minute to get their breath. But the flowers went on dancing. And do you know what they were saying?
No man who takes a garden thinks we are flowers, but we are puppies because we're only we, because we're only we.
Oh, well, they both are only me.
But we are lovers, because we're only we, because we're only
I hope that's cleared up any doubts you might have had in your mind. My personal feeling is that Bill and Ben are both superstars, and I refuse to discriminate between them. Well, from one great double act to another. You remember It Ain't Half Hot, Mum? Two of the stars of that series made a record in 1975, and to everyone's astonishment, it rocketed into the charts and stayed there for 12 weeks. Windmill proudly presents Windsor Davis and Don Estelle singing their #1 smash hit, Whispering Grass, on Top of the Pops.
You promised me green grass, not to tell what you were. Whispering grass, say, you can't keep your word. Keep your word, sing lofty.
Why do you whisper green grass? Why tell the trees what ain't so? Whispering grass, the trees don't have to know. Why tell them all your secrets? Yes, you told them once before. It's no secret anymore. Why tell them all the old things? They're buried under the snow. Whispering grass, don't tell the trees, 'cause the trees don't need to know.
Don't you tell it to the breeze, 'cause she will tell the birds and bees, and everyone will know, because you told the blabbering trees. Oh yes, you told them once before, and it is no secret anymore. I will not have gossip in this jungle.
Why tell them all the old things? They're buried under the snow. Whispering grass, don't tell the trees, 'cause the trees don't need to.
The BBC has introduced a new system for allowing its employees to have fun and collect their wages at the same time. Haha. Hey, great. Another 50 pence and I'm there. These things can be a lot of fun. A bit boring perhaps, and real archaeologists aren't too keen on random scrabbling for old coins, but there's always the remote chance of picking up something of real historical interest. Could even be worth some money. The archaeology program Chronicle went out on a cold, damp day to a pile of mud dredged out of the Colne River near Colchester. They met a part-time window cleaner and metal detective, Nigel Richards.
Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it? I don't think I'll be needing that just for the moment. I love doing this, I do. Excited. I hope we're in luck anyway. Oh yes, we're in luck. Yes, yes. Oh yes, yes. It's a Roman coin. Sometimes you can go for nearly 2 hours without getting one of these coins. Oh, there it is. Cool. Oh, it looks pretty good. Might be able to identify that when I get it home and washed under the tap. But there, look at the head. I don't know whether you can see it on the camera or not, but there's definitely a head there. It looks like Trajan. It looks like Trajan because I've had Trajan out of this spot before, I hear. And it looks similar to it, but I wouldn't like to say for definite. But we'll wait till we get it at home. Excuse me. We'll wait till we get it at home, and then we'll wash it under the tap, and we'll have another look at it. What do you say? Okay?
Well, the good ones of these come with a booklet telling owners how to use them without breaking the law. Apparently, it's very easy to damage parts of our historical heritage without meaning to. End of message. Now, finding metal underground is one thing. Filming animals is another, particularly when you run the risk of being bitten by one of the most ferocious creatures known to man. From Wildlife on One, we have the most extraordinary close-up pictures taken inside the nest of the Australian bulldog ant.
Unlike vertebrate animals, these have an external skeleton, and it's quite fascinating to dissect and study the anatomy of insects like these, because they consist of a series of box-like structures. Their legs are a chain of long, narrow boxes. Their thorax and abdomen are essentially box-like in structure. And inside these boxes, muscles move the sections one relative to another. Movements that we see in the antennae, with all their intricacy, are mediated by only a few small muscles within the head. These things are put together like dinky toys, and yet Under appropriate stimulus, they behave in an elaborate and exquisite way.
Now it's time for one of those really unusual finds from the BBC Library. You've probably seen films shot at night in programmes like Badger Watch and Fox Watch. Well, now we've found some footage which is probably unique. It's called Gnome Watch. And the commentary is by Norris McWhirter. And if you look closely, you may see some faces you recognise.
Well, there you can see it. It's absolutely fantastic, right inside a veritable Gnome Street gnome. Of course, these three aren't ordinary earth gnomes. Are not very pleasant creatures. They're the lovable variety of dancing gnomes. And of course, dancing gnomes are known for doing everything together.
Came from All-Star Record Breakers in 1979. Did you recognise, I wonder, Blue Peter Gnomes, Simon Groom, Tina Heath and Chris Wenner? Now, these may all look like your run-of-the-mill common or garden gnome, but look a bit closer and you'll see we've got some well-known gnomes of our own. Her Majesty the Gnome, Prince Gnome, Prince Pixie and Princess Fairy Snowflake, and the Duke and Duchess of Fergie. Honoured we are. Now, a big grown-up gnome tells me the gnome population of Britain is 5 million, which suggests to me they do more at night than sing and dance. But how could anybody know how many gnomes there are? The answer is delightfully eccentric. People study gnomes. In 1977, Nationwide heard about a survey and asked their Gnome News correspondent, Bernard Falk, to leave no gnome unstirred. This was his fearless investigation.
This is Britain's first official inquiry into the country's gnome phenomena, and all because Joan Turnock is training to be a school teacher and has chosen garden gnomes as the subject for her thesis.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Can you tell me, do you have any gnomes in your own garden?
Oh yes, we've got some in there.
Have you?
Every time we have a new one, the wife wants one.
I see.
It may be an original idea to investigate garden ornaments as part of a teacher training course, but the investigator herself is now gripped with gnome mania. Much of the spade work for her research is done at the Banbury Garden Centre, a popular meeting place for the town's gnome fanciers. Using hundreds of printed questionnaires, Mrs. Turnock is asking members of the public for the lowdown on the local gnome population. And she's also probing the reasons why people collect these mythical creatures in the first place. In keeping with Nationwide's crusading tradition in investigatory journalism, we become privy to the secrets of Mrs. Turnock's gnome file. Gnome file. Case History 68, and the home of Mrs. Harris. There are no secrets in her garden. Mrs. Harris is a proud gnome owner. They're on display for the outside world to see.
This is quite outstanding, isn't it?
Yes, we like it.
You like gnomes? I
Oh,
presume?
yes, yes.
What is there special about gnomes that you like?
Well, I think they add interest to a garden.
Yeah. Have you often had gnomes?
Oh, always, yes. As long as we've been married, that's 20 years.
There are people who could suggest that people who collect gnomes are a bit, well...
I hope not.
Do you think that's fair? Or?
Well, I think people who don't like gnomes have got ideas about gnome owners. But through my research, I'm finding that these theories are completely wrong.
Gnome hunting can be arduous work. Mrs. Turnock has spent many weeks tracking them down, but now and again she has a real find. A home where gnomes seem to have taken over. This cottage is a classic example of the old saying, every gnome should have one.
What do you think's the secret of gnomes, then?
Happiness for young and for old.
Happiness?
Yes, for old and for children.
And you're going to keep at it, collecting gnomes,
certainly, till the end of my days.
Okay, well, bye-bye, Taffy.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you. Cheerio, Taffy.
Cheerio.
And so another case history enters the gnome file, and over the next few months, working day and night, Joan Turnock will be gnoming in the gloaming before her task is through. And that's no mean feat in itself.
Gnomes may be many things, but I never thought of them as a political force. But that's what they became in 1983 at the Chelsea Flower Show. This was the story in the 9 o'clock news.
One thing you can't buy at the show is a garden gnome. The organisers won't allow them in. They obviously feel it would lower the tone. And so today, the gnomes staged a silent protest outside.
The demonstration had gnome effect on the flower show, and the organisers made gnome comment. Planet Earth has many benefits to bestow on us mere mortals. The good earth yields up its crop of wheat and fruit and vegetables, and in some parts of the world, the grape. From it comes one of nature's noblest treasures. Yes, wine. Television was privileged, well, fairly privileged, to be at the ceremonial wine harvest of Gesprichtebrüsse in the Bavarian Alps. Marty Feldman, John Junkin, and Tim Brooke Taylor. Vintage 1968. Here's to some nimble footwork. Pity about the toenails. From Bavaria to Suffolk, and a view of harvests gone by, not grapes this time, but wheat, seen through the eyes of a farm worker who'd been working since 1920. This is one of those gems from the series All Our Working Lives, which we've linked with some amateur film from another series, Caught in Time. Farming in those far-off days was extremely hard work, but working in a factory just didn't compare, according to Len Sharman.
I had 2 days in a factory at Leiston, and I got so fed up that I packed it in. The noise was too much. I couldn't stand the noise, being shut up. And I loved the life, I loved the horses, I loved the cattle, and I loved the plough, and I loved the job. To be in the country, you know, in the summertime, all this lovely fresh air and the sun and all the country scenes. I could work in a field all day long alone and never be lonely. There's so much going on around you. All the animal life, the crops growing, the birds singing, you hear the cook go. Well, it's like being in heaven. It's just, that was my life. It was my father's life, my grandfather's life. That was bred in me, that was in my blood. I'm really a true Suffolk farm worker.
incidentally, was Jupiter from Holst's Planet Suite. So how's this for a modern version of the same job? In Texas, the wheat harvest starts in May, and thousands of huge combine harvesters chew their way north for 2,000 miles till they reach the Canadian border 6 months later. The drivers work 18 hours a day with temperatures in the 90s. Bill Gantz tells the story in song.
Oh, my lady lives down on the fork of a river. The combines keep moving and I miss her so. And I wait for the day when the work is all done. The fields look like oceans, long hours in the sun. So hot in the morning, so lonely at night, sleeping alone in a broken down trailer. The fields, they seem bigger and longer each day. And soon I will see you, I'll see you again. Packed up our gear when we finished the field. We went to the next one and started again. Sometimes I wonder if it ever will end, when I see more cutting around the next bend. So hot in the morning, so lonely at night, sleeping alone in a broken down trailer. The fields, they seem bigger and longer each day. And soon I will see you, soon I will see you, soon I will see you, I'll see you again.
Endless expanses of the North American prairie as seen in The World About Us in 1976. We come back to cultivation on a smaller scale in the company of this week's star guest. If I say gardening and television in the same breath, which name springs to mind for most people? Well, just in case you're no wiser, let me play you a sequence which was fixed in the nation's culture for 9 years.
Good afternoon and welcome once again to our gardening club.
Yes, our guest this week is the man who obviously has bright green fingers, even on black and white television. Percy Thrower. Welcome, Percy.
Nice to be with you.
I just wondered, before we start, whether you recognise this flower.
I do. It's the Percy Thrower rose, and it's very good for the time of year.
Did you recognise it straight away?
I did, oh yes. The bud, the formation, that general habit.
Named after you when?
In 1965.
Right.
Yes, a great honour.
Certainly. Now, the odd thing, looking back on those gardening club programmes, was that not only were they live, but they were also done in the studio. Now, how do you do gardening in a studio?
Well, they were, of course. There were tons and tons of earth burrowed into the studio. Plants, I used to load up my car in the boot, the back of the car, the front of the car, on the seat beside me, all sorts of plants, far more than I wanted, just in case. But we made a garden in the studio. We tried to make it look real.
A completely fake garden in the studio.
Yes.
Well, let's look at an example from 1956. This is you showing the viewers how to plant seeds.
The seed must be sown very thinly because you want good sturdy plants that's going to stand the winter weather. And I like to put just a little seed in the palm of the hand Then, with the thumb and finger, just sprinkle it very, very thinly along the drill. Then, to cover it over, slide the feet one side along each side of the drill, pushing the soil in so that you've got about ½ an inch covering. Now, we gardeners like to be neat and tidy, and to finish it off, take the rake and draw the rake the same way as the drill, just levelling off the soil, and then you're not disturbing the seed.
Indoor gardening, it looked just like the outdoors there, didn't it?
You know, that takes me back. My word, it does.
I bet it does. I bet it does. What I want to know is, how do you do a gardening program for 9 years without repeating yourself?
It's a very wide subject. You've got a wide range of plants, inside gardening, in the house, outside gardening. You've never finished. The seasons differ, the plants differ, and you can always wrap it up in different paper.
But you've got to have fairly safe plants, otherwise you get complaints, don't you? You've got to have things that are easy to grow.
Yes, I found the secret was to make it straightforward, simple, down-to-earth information. I wanted to introduce plants and encourage people to use plants in their garden that they could be successful with.
Right.
You see, it's a great subject, a great hobby, a great livelihood.
You obviously have a great affection for it. Let's get on to this greenhouse. I'm very fond of this. One of the nice things about the greenhouse was the fact that for some reason you always used to take your, even though it was in the studio and there was no glass in it, you used to take your jacket off. Why did you do that?
I started 59 years ago, and I was taught, when I go in the greenhouse, take your jacket off. When you go out, put your jacket on. Common sense, really.
But there's no reason to do it in the studio, really, is there?
No, it was my trademark. There was so much comment about taking my jacket off when I went to the greenhouse, hanging it up there, that I said, right, this is my trademark, and I stuck to it.
Right.
And the sun that we had during last month certainly suited the tomatoes. If you were with us a month ago, you saw us potting tomatoes into the final pots, or I said then that they could be put into orange boxes.
Is it true somebody once changed the hook?
When I moved from London to Birmingham, the riggers knew that that was my trademark. They put a hook up, and I went into the greenhouse during rehearsal and hung up, and my coat fell to the floor. Second time, it fell to the floor. I looked up the third time, and the hook came down like that. It was a rubber hook, and that was a joke. And it's a joke that I've laughed about many times. When I see those lads still, those that are still with us, we'll have a laugh about that hook.
Just as well. Well, now, your predecessor on television was Fred Streeter, and I suspect he was someone for whom you had quite a lot of respect, didn't you?
Oh, I did, yes. Middleton was the pioneer of radio gardening. Fred Streeter was the pioneer of television gardening. Now, Fred Streeter was one of the real old schools of gardeners. I could relate a whole lot of C.H. Cook of Windsor, Tom Cook of Sandringham. I could go through a whole lot of them. Now, those the lords of all they surveyed. They'd turn out in the morning, black jacket, pinstripe trousers and a bowler hat. And they'd walk up the garden path, and my word, if there's anything wrong, look out.
Really?
It was so, yes.
Well, we've got a film made in 1971 when Fred Streeter had reached the ripe old age of 96. And it's all there is of him, but this was a film made of him very late in life. Let's watch.
Fred, is there any secret of making plants grow for you?
Oh, yes, I talk to them. Yes, I always talk to them and tell them to get on and do the best they can. And they do. People think, oh, the silly old fossil, thinking of talking to plants. Why, it's impossible. They don't understand. Don't they, Virgingo? You get one now. You take a plant in the, say, that you got in the got it in the window, and you go there and you see it flop right down like that, the leaves all drop off, and say, oh man, whatever's the matter with it? And he can't answer you back in your language, but if you just feel the soil and feel that that's dry, then give them a good soaking. Say there's nothing in it now, it's only pure water, and that's right, you'll feel a lot better in a very short time. And in about half an hour, he comes up. Oh, you've never seen a plant. See? They do, they understand. And they got their own language, you know. We don't think they have, but they do. Of course, they don't talk. They don't talk like I am, for instance. Good job, I expect it is.
Yes, and Fred's right, they do understand.
Do you talk to plants?
Well, yes, of course we do. And it's an indication, if you talk to your plants, you care for your plants, you love your plants, and they respond to that treatment.
Or people take you away and lock you up, one or the other.
Well, yes, they could lock you up, I suppose, but yes, plants, they're alive, the soil's alive, and everything alive around them. This is the thing you've got to appreciate. Garden is so much mere common sense.
Now, Fred Streeter goes back to an era when there were lots of, any big private garden, a posh private garden, would have lots of gardeners. Now, you worked in that environment.
Well, I started under my father in Buckinghamshire. He was a head gardener, 19 gardeners. I went to the Royal Gardens of Windsor under C.H. Cook, 60 gardeners. You see, those in the days when these large private estates were in their heyday, and these gardeners, as I said a moment ago, were the lords of all they surveyed.
Well, now you're the lord of, among other things, the Blue Peter Garden. No, you haven't got 19 gardeners there. I think you're running that virtually on your own, aren't you?
Yes.
Now, that
with the help of the Blue Peter presenters.
Oh, sure. Well, there must be a lot of fun. Were you responsible for working out how that garden should look?
Yes, I planned the garden, the vegetable garden, the Italian garden, the sunken garden. I planned that for them, and it's proved very successful. And you see, all right, we're talking to children in the main, I suppose. We're not trying to teach them to be gardeners. We're getting them interested, and if we just sow a seed, and that's the interest beginning of everything. And when they get married, they have a house, they have a garden of themselves. It's never lost.
Now, we've got a sequence which was shown earlier this year, 1986, April, on a terrible day. It's obviously pouring with rain. We had a terrible spring this year. Everything was very late.
It was.
But you still had to make something out of it, and I think you're dealing with a pond plant.
That's quite right, we were.
I wonder if Bonnie's going to be as fond of the fish in this pond as Goldie is.
Well, Gold's been fascinated, always has been, hasn't
Yes.
he? Yes.
Now, they've got to have 10 pellets, Brian says, so I've got them here. I'll drop them in for them.
Yes.
10 a week, that is.
And they're keeping low, of course, down at the bottom with the weather.
How are our water plants doing?
Well, they're slow, of course, with the weather. We've got one here that's, of course, you know, one that's broken. This one, that's the bulrush.
I've never repotted a water plant before. How do you go about it?
Well, now, you've got a basket there with the hessian in to keep the soil in.
Keep your nose out, there's no food.
And we use a heavy soil from the garden, like this, you see.
It's very wet, isn't it?
It
Mind
is.
you, not that it matters with a water
Very
plant.
wet now. Now, this to come out, and you see it looks dead.
Yes.
But see, it's alive there, and that root's alive, so you just pull that off, pull some of this off the top to clean it up. Now, Janet, if we put that in there like that,
Yep.
some more soil around it.
It's really good mud pies mud, this,
It
isn't
is.
it?
You see, the heavier soil will not float to the top. Press it in, and then some shingle over the top of that.
Now, how are we going to get it back into the water without all that soil floating away?
It won't float away. The heavy soil is that's the point of it. Now, if we put that in carefully, you see,
Oh, yes.
that's one of the plants for the shallow part, the marginal plants. Now, that should grow.
Goldie taking an active interest in your
Yes,
gardening there.
yes, he
I
does.
must say, the thing I liked about that clip was watching your hands working with that plant. You really, I think you show a very strong affection for plants. You love them, don't you?
Well, when you've been doing it for all your life, a lifetime of gardening, these things come naturally to you.
Now, one of the accolades, I suppose, for anybody who is in the public eye has been to appear on the Morecambe and Wise show.
My gosh, yes.
I bet that was fun, wasn't it?
It was fun. The problem was remembering a script.
Oh, really?
That was my biggest problem. You see, I never used a script.
Right.
And
You'd always ad-libbed. You'd always made up your
Yes,
words as you
oh,
went
yes.
along.
But having a script and remembering a script to give them, I suppose, their lead in.
Yes, but it must have been a lot of fun working with them.
Oh, it's great fun. A great honour.
Of course.
Yes, a great honour.
Absolutely. Well, here is Ernie Wise with the mutton chop whiskers of Harry Wheatcroft. I think they call him Harry Wheatsheaf in this
Yes, they
sketch.
did, that's quite right.
And you doing your best, I must say, up against insuperable odds almost.
Tell me, Percy, what is The most valuable plant that you have in here, the one that you prize the most.
That is our prize plant. That's Mexicanum.
Mexicanum?
Pilatus.
Pilatus, all
Yes,
right.
all the way from South America.
And what's so unusual about
Well, now, that's a very rare and a very unusual plant. In fact, you know, that only blooms once every 40 years.
Once every 40
And
years?
it's a coincidence. It's due to bloom at this very moment.
At this very moment? Well, I say, Percy, would you mind awfully if I took a picture of it?
Not a bit.
I brought my camera, and this is such a rare... Every 40 years, I must take a picture of it. It's moving now! It isn't. Did you get it? Tell me, what is that queer-looking object over there?
It's my wife.
No. I mean, that sort of all lopsided thing.
Now, this is a very unusual one. It's a very rare species of the Venus's flytrap.
Venus flytrap?
It traps insects. And it's got a rather delicate smell.
Delicate perfume, yes?
Yes.
Do you think I could smell it?
No,
Because
you
I'm-
mustn't smell it, no.
Well, why not?
If you do, the flower sticks to your nose, and my word, in 5 minutes, the nose away.
Eaten the nose away? My goodness, it must be... And does it attack the nervous central?
It does.
It must be absolutely... My God. What are we going to do, Percy?
That was painful. It was quite painful, that.
Yes. Well, I
Now,
must say it's very-
would you excuse me a moment? Adam, would you look after Mr. Wheatsheaf while I go next door for a dibble? Yes. Have one for me while you're there.
I don't know how you managed to keep a straight face.
You couldn't. You never knew with those two what was coming next.
I bet.
You couldn't.
Well, Percy Thrower, you've been a super guest on Windmill. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's all we have time for in this week's ramble through the gardens and grapevines and the gnomes and the good life of the BBC archives. We leave you with a film clip which evokes those long, lazy days of summer. It comes from a 1979 film called The Front Garden. The film was shot by Philip Bonham Carter. The music is by George Butterworth, and the gardening was by Mrs. Meredith. Sit back for a moment and enjoy this. Goodbye.
Competition time here on Now On 2, so get yourselves a pencil and a piece of paper. Quick, ready, good. Because on previous editions of the programme, we've shown you freeze frames from children's BBC programmes. We've got another one for you today from a forthcoming children's BBC programme. But let's remind ourselves of the ones that have gone by, starting with number 1. Here it comes, going quickly. Number 2 was that one. Number 3... OK, and finally, number 4 from a forthcoming children's BBC programme. OK, list them down as soon as you have all 4, which will be, of course, in a few days' time, and send them to this address. That's Simon Potter, Now On 2, BBC TV Centre, London W12 8QT. Simon Potter, Now On 2, BBC TV Centre, London W12